Alright, Q&A number 2. Jack Inso asks how to solo over chord changes. So, salamat sa pangutana, Brad. Hopefully, makatubag ko sa yung pangutana ng video. So, I'm assuming, excuse me. So, I'm assuming you're referring to chord progressions nga na ay mga altered chords nga mo require og different scale from the key of the song. So, unsa man na nato. So, sa kaning video ang akong i-example ang kaning chords sa Spain kay para kay medyo daghan siya chords and daghan siya chord changes pod. So, nindot siya ng example, and this is what I've been practicing for the past few months, I guess. So, ang chord sa Spain is inani G major 7, F sharp dominant, sharp 9, I'm not sure, E minor, A dominant, D major, G, C sharp minor flat 5, I guess, F sharp dominant, B minor, E7. So medyo dagan-dagan siya chords, no? Nya, dagan po siya chord changes. So, naka-learn lang ko, ituluan ko ni Ram nga kung dominant 7 daw, pwede daw ka let's say kani F sharp dominant, pwede daw ka makagamit og super Locrian, F sharp super Locrian, which is the 7th mode of the melodic minor. So to make it simple lang, we can just think of it as one half step higher na melodic minor. So F sharp dominant 7, pwede ka mag G melodic minor. As to why that is, I'll just give a very basic explanation of kanang mag theory, no? Para nako lang nganong F sharp or super Locrian itong gamiton or a half step higher melodic minor. Kay mura siya ni-outline siya sa first or sa root, third or flat 7 sa dominant chord, but with a lot of kanang tension notes. So na siya sharp flat 9, sharp 9, third, flat 5, sharp 5, then flat 7. So ni-outline siya sa interval sa dominant scale but with all those tension notes. And basically, ato na siyang gamiton or magamit na natin siya aning a chord to give tension lang so that when the next chord comes, which is mabalik siya sa key, mura siya mo resolve, mamuhatag siya tension, then resolve. That's how I understand it lang. I'm sure there is a much better explanation out there, no? And if you want a list of like 10 scales to use, maybe you can ask Barry or Ram for that. But for the purpose of this video lang, kana natong una-una lang sa. So for every dominant chord we face or we encounter in this chord progression, mo gamit lang tawag half step higher nga melodic minor. Now, let's do a quick demo lang sa ano. I'll just solo over this chord progression. Very simple lang. Kanang di lang ko magduga-tuga kayo kuan ka ba sa sayop ko. So, mag-loop sa ako kuan Spain. Actually, tawagonin ako siya pains kay my rhythm game is not very good and may pagka Afro-Cuban may nanagan yung rhythm sa Spain, so di man na ako kaya. So, naniyaw lang ako pagtukar. Simple lang. Basic. E minor, A dominant, so I'll just improvise freely. So, basic ka to siya, no? Di kayo to siya grabe ka, puyo. And I'm sure there's a lot of great improvisers out there. But how to do that, no? Murag, daghan kayo og chord changes, taas kayo yung chord progression, like 10 man siguro, I'm not sure. So the method nga ako i-share sa imo nga karon is actually inspired siya gikan sa fitness community. So I'll just talk about that very briefly. A few years ago, medyo na-enthusiastic ko about kanang fitness. So nagsigo exercise. Nya naka-learn ko nga in improving, or if we want to improve our strength and the weight that we're lifting in a certain lift, let's say squat or overhead press, natay mga progression schemes nga we can follow to induce progression. So, for example, no, basic lang, simple lang nga explanation. Kaya naman ko na sa mga terms, but di lang ta mo get into that. So, we can add weight over time. Let's say every week, we can add 5 pounds. So, let's say 100, start ka og, the idea is you start at a weight nga kaya nimo, dili kayo maglisod kayo, and you add 5 pounds next week, then let's say 100 pounds squat, then next week 105, next week 110, then you do that until you can't do it anymore. Another form of progression is adding reps before adding weight. Another thing is reducing your rest periods para ma-challenge ka. So let's say karon 5 minutes, next week 4 minutes. So something like that. Yeah. Nag-think lang ko nga a few years ago nga, what if ako siyang i-apply sa paggitara? So, kaya when I started to learn how to solo over kanang chord changes, medyo, or when we start to do that, medyo challenging siya, and at first more siya discouraging kay murang when we start to learn how to solo, murag sayon na on that to at first, murag mangutan na taon sa key, we figure out what key it is, then unsa man A minor, okay, A minor scale na katanan. Sayon na kayo, you can just shred away. Yeah, here comes the chord changes, and we are told by music nga it's not that easy day. Murag na day mga chord progressions nga mo require og thought nga oy lahi day ni siya nga key or lahi nga scale ang gamiton para ani nga chord. Yeah, murag ma-challenge man gud natong mind. So when we first start to try it, murag magwawa pa ta, masaag pa ta. So especially if daghan og chord changes like atong Spain. So mao na siyang challenge jud atong ma-face. So how do we get over that or get through it? So akong gi-apply ang concept sa katong fitness sa paggitara. So when I first started practicing Spain, discourage ko gamay kay medyo di jud na ako kaya, mura kog banga kay tanan. Ni ana na ko sa myself nga, what if I can solo over G, one chord, G major 7, G Lydian. What if I'll just play 2 chords? So similar sa fitness, you start at a weight nga kaya nimo. So kaya man akong 2 chords nga transition. So based off sa akong explanation ganina nga mag melodic minor ta. So akong gibuhat G major 7 lang sa and F dominant. So just those 2 chords. So instead of playing the entire chord progression, you just focus on those 2 chords and transitioning from yung G major 7, G Lydian man siya, so B minor scale or D major. Then you switch to melodic minor. Balik sa B minor. Melodic. So you're just switching back and forth sa kanang 2 chords and focusing on just 2 scales and the transition between the D major scale to a G melodic minor nga scale. So para dili kayo siya grabe ba nga task for you to to take upon. So you're just focusing on those two chords lang. Yeah, familiarizing yourself with the different shapes in different positions. So that's one thing you can do. Another thing is, if let's say you're really struggling, you can just focus on one position lang, or maybe two strings, one position. So let's say D major, and between D major and G melodic minor ang imong i-practice nga transition. So in this part of the fretboard, ang D major scale, yan eh. So you need to figure out unsa may shape sa G melodic minor diha para mainig abot sa F sharp major, F sharp dominant 7, makatukar ka sa scale. So, and you try to like register that in your mind, chunk by chunk ba. So kanina mo na siya. So inigtukar nimo, pwede ka mag-improvise, practice na nimo na shape. So ano na, simple na siya, di na lang sa ka. Kaya mo pa man atong kaya at first. And then slowly, like similar to the fitness concept na pod, you can add a position or add a string or add a chord from the chord progression. So the progression that I would recommend is just focusing on two chords, slowly expanding on the fretboard, little by little, position by position, string by string, similar to the fitness in the string. You just add weight, or you add reps before weight. You add one string, one position, then maybe another position na pod, until you can solo over G major 7, those two chords, G major 7 and F sharp dominant 7, until you can solo two positions, then three positions na po, na ma-expanding mo ang fretboard, makasolo na ka sa tibuok fretboard with just two chords. Then you can move on to the next set of 2 or 3 chords Spain. Then you can connect them, and the next set of 3 chords na po sa Spain, then connect them until you can play and improvise over the entire song sa Spain. Mora na siya. And you can, this method can be applied sa any chord progression, any scale, and mora na siya. So, mora na siya, Brad. Hopefully, nakatabang to, and nakatubag ko sa iyong pangutana. So, salamat sa pagtanaw sa sunod na pod. Bye.